So we just watched this Tank versus Roach fight, and I have to be honest with you guys. I'm not shocked per se. I'm just, I guess, a little bit caught off guard with the business of boxing. I'm really frustrated with how the referees really treated this fight, how they scored this fight, how it's almost like they don't want to. It's almost like there's more risk in Tank losing a fight as far as marketing and everything for the business of boxing than Lamont Roach winning. And I'm going to tell you why I say that. In the beginning of this fight, it was definitely a filling out process, but Roach never really let Tank sit in there and just counter. He waited for him. In the beginning, he made Tank even more patient than Tank is used to being. See, Tank is used to getting in there, a lot of guys coming after him trying to take his head off, and then he counters, makes you get in a bad position, makes you make a mistake, and you pay for it. In this fight, though, you can clearly tell that the game plan for Roach was black and white. Make Tank engage. Make him engage first. You be the counter guy. And the dynamic was really interesting in this fight because that game plan worked, and it worked flawlessly. It was a high IQ fight. You see in the beginning they're trying to score points. Roach, I think his speed definitely caught Tank off guard. I think Tank knew Roach was fast, but remember, Roach is coming up a weight class to actually fight Tank. So I think he knew Roach was fast, but I don't think he knew how fast he actually was. See, Tank is usually used to having the power advantage and the speed advantage in his fights. There are some fights that I won't mention, but he's usually used to having the advantage. In this one, that advantage was gone. Power was met with power. Speed was met with speed. The body punches were not as effective for him as they normally are. They were met right back. He took a lot of body punches. The countering game, if you ask me, he was bested in the game of countering. If you ask me personally, I think where Tank really had his best chance of winning this fight was in the power punches, which he landed more. But, he was shook just as much as he shook Roach. So the power punches kind of even out, and it took Tank out of his normal flow, which caught me off guard a little bit because I didn't think Tank would fall into that. But after Tank fell into that role, the whole fight changed. So in the beginning, like I said, for Roach, it was simple. Make Tank the engager. You counter him. And when you counter him, it's one or two punches. Do not throw any combinations beyond one or two punches unless he's at a good distance away from you. Now, the reason why this works is because as long as he's only throwing one or two punch combinations, when he's throwing his punch, he's really quick. So he's back to defending himself. He's not taking unnecessary body punches or anything like that to the stomach, to the liver that can put him down over time. Now, don't get me wrong, those body punches can pay dividends in the later rounds, especially in the championship rounds, but in this fight, they didn't. Another thing that was also quite shocking is Tank kept his head dead in the center line. So every time they got in a scuffle, they're bending over near each other and things of that nature. Tank is swinging and missing. What does Roach do? Throw counters right back, catching Tank with uppercuts, catching him with straight rights, the left hook, the punches to the body, which were iconic in this fight, to be completely honest, on both sides. No one did it better than your opponent in this one. But another thing that I'm not the biggest fan of in boxing is Tank is going to his corner, and you can tell there's somebody telling him to score this fight. You can tell he has access to that. Now, of course, he's one of the biggest stars in boxing, so it's not hard to figure that out, right? But someone is telling him to score in this fight. And I just don't think it's fair because it definitely gives you a big leg up in how you have to treat the fight, how you have to approach the fight, who has more punches landed, what are the refs seeing, and all that stuff. He has someone out there telling him. It used to be Floyd Mayweather, but he has someone else out there because right now, obviously, he's not cool with Floyd. But he starts getting frustrated in his corner. The sixth round comes around, and he comes out, and he's actually, I don't know, man, something changed. Tank is getting desperate in round 6. He almost looks like he wants to put this fight away. Roach came out and he just waited for Tank to start throwing, which is exactly what Tank did. Once again, this game plan is working flawlessly. Tank is landing a lot of good power punches in the round 6. We go over to the corners again, come out in round 7. Tank is throwing punches for the beginning of round 7, but then Lamont Roach takes over the rest of round 7. He's landing the power punches. He's being more strategic. He's not in danger. So round 7 ends with Lamont Roach clearly winning that round. Some of the judges, by the way, gave it to Tank, which I don't even know how. In the 8th round, Roach gets caught and counters Tank right back. I mean, it's tick for tack. He gets caught, and you can see he felt it. He shook a little bit and threw that hand, the right straight that kept working because Tank kept keeping his head dead in the center line, threw that right back, and Tank was caught off guard. It shook him, caused him to stumble a little bit on his feet. He didn't fall or anything, but it caused him to stumble. He was shook. They were both shook in that moment, and now they're just staring at each other, taking pictures like, did that really just happen? So Tank is taking a lot more damage in this fight because Roach approached him by being the guy who's actually countering for the most part. Tank had to make it a little bit dirty to get his best punches in. After this 8th round, Tank is not talking trash anymore. Tank is actually giving him a dab, like, man, dude, you're a good fighter. He's giving him respect now. He feels the power. He feels that he can be in danger if he makes mistakes. And he even mentions that later on in the conference inside the ring. The very next round, in the 9th round, this was a little bit bizarre. I think this caught me off guard the most, but we got an explanation later that the oils in his hair after it got done were dripping into his eyes, causing his eye to burn. So Tank takes a knee and gets his eye wiped on the corner. Now, right before that, there was a left hook that actually landed. So that knee should have counted as a knockdown. This is kind of what I mean by the refs definitely stole this fight from Lamont Roach. For sure, 100%. This had to be the weirdest knee I've probably ever seen anyone take in all of boxing that I've ever watched. So it should have been a knockdown. It didn't count as a knockdown. But Tank was still losing the round for the most part. 2 of the 3 judges actually gave him the round, which, once again, I just don't get. Okay. In the 10th round, this fight turns into a dogfight. Absolute battle. Tank is frustrated, and you can see it in his face, especially in his corner, or even when he comes back around to sit down, or it comes back out into the fight. He's frustrated. His power punches are landing. He's not putting this guy on the ground. Lamont Roach is not falling, not even once. He's taking the punches and staying in his face. Lamont Roach had Tank backing up the entire fight, which I thought was impressive, by the way. I thought, that was a very great showing for Lamont Roach, 100%. And again, when you're backing up, taking all those steps back, and you're being hunted down the entire time, and Lamont Roach is not making mistakes, that's very tiring for Tank. That's very tiring for any fighter, for that matter of fact. So now we go into the 12th and final round in the championship rounds. So Tank is trying to trash talk in the middle of the ring, thinking he's going to bait Lamont Roach in. Bro, Lamont Roach just fought the fight of his life. The boxing match of his life. You think he's really going to sit there and listen to you talk trash to him? Come on, Tank. You should have known that wasn't going to work. You tried. You tried the trash talking. You tried to kind of get in his head a little bit. But in all honesty, that was just, Tank's frustration truly coming out and showing itself. So we're going to the judges' scorecards. And before this, I'm like, the only way the results can come out is one of 2 ways. It's either a draw or Roach won. There is no in between. Tank did not win the fight. Okay. Tank did not throw more punches. He did not land more punches. He did, however, land more power punches. But that was it. They each landed power punches that shook each other equal times. So for the most part, like I said, it has to be a draw or a win for Lamont Roach. Ultimately, it was ruled a draw. But in all honesty, I think the best part of all this is the humbleness that we seen from Tank. That was a beautiful thing to see. Tank came out. He gave Lamont Roach his props. And one thing I did not like that he did, him and Lamont actually, is they tried to call each other back out for a rematch. I'm not with that. I don't think that's exactly what needs to happen. I think what needs to happen is Tank needs to go fight Shakur Stevenson. In this one, Tank got saved by the refs. The business of boxing definitely robbed Lamont Roach, 100%. But if I'm in Tank's corner and I'm by his side and I'm training with him and I'm his coaches or his people that's real close to him, yeah, we're not fighting Shakur Stevenson. I avoid that fight 100%. Tank will not be able to fight his style. You know, you have to understand when it comes to fighting or even boxing, this is the sport of boxing, not the sport of fighting. We got to be clear about that. Boxing is just one of the martial arts, you know. When it comes to boxing, styles make fights, including when it comes to MMA, mixed martial arts, styles make fights. Tank is a counter puncher, a powerful counter puncher, but that fighting style cannot work against someone like Shakur Stevenson. He simply moves too much. And as he's moving, he's really good at hitting you while moving on his back foot. He's really good at counter punching. Matter of fact, he's better at counter punching than Tank, if you ask me personally. And Shakur Stevenson is definitely better than Lamont Roach. So if I'm in Tank's corner, yeah, we're avoiding that fight. I get them. For the boxing world, for the boxing fans, for the fight fans and all that stuff, you know, Turkey, al-Sheikh in the Middle East, make that fight happen. That fight has to happen. But I'm telling you right now, Tank cannot come out and fight the same way, because he fights Shakur Stevenson that same way, he will definitely lose. Definitely. He cannot fight the same style of fight against Shakur, and I think that's what he's avoiding. And it's kind of hard to blame him after watching him fight Lamont Roach, because Shakur is a better Lamont Roach. That's the truth and the reality of it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, man. If you watched the fight, let me know what you actually think about the scoring, what you guys think about the knockdown and all that stuff. I'm curious to know. Thanks for listening, fellas. Peace out, y'all. Thank you very much for your time today, guys. Definitely like and subscribe, and we will have much more coming for you. Have a good one.